and I got a phone call and it said Chase Bank. They were like, hey, you've been the victim of like a wire fraud transaction. And I was like, oh my gosh, please help me. Like that's crazy. These people were so convincing. You're gonna have to do a wire reversal, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? I literally took their information, that whatever they told me to input, and I wired $12,000 out of my account. I think I called my dad. He's like, Erika, the bank will. This is officially past pod launch day. We've launched the pod. I'm so excited. You guys are super engaged. And today we have a special guest. Here's Benny. And he's just going to be a cutie and chill right here. He's super calm. But today's topic is kind of traumatizing, a little serious. I have a lot to get through, but today I'm going to talk about how I lost $12,000 in one day. Okay, I was the victim of a wire fraud scam back in 2022. I literally remember it like it was yesterday. But this is pretty much the story of how I was scammed for $12K and how I kept my business alive and going. I really thought that it was the end for me because at the time, that was all I had. But the positive was that my business was making money. So I thought it was all I had, but it wasn't really all I had. So let's go back. This is March 2022. And at the time, I was in a salon suite. I was thriving. I was back-to-back booked. I was really busy, and actually a little bit too busy if you ask me, because this is how the scam happened. But I remember the day like to the T. I had 9 clients on my book for that day and literally no breaks to like eat, go to the restroom. Thank you. But I literally had no breaks to eat lunch and sit down and, just gather my thoughts. It was one of those days, like if you know, right? If you've built your business or you had a time where you were just really, really busy, then you didn't want to turn anybody away, right? So I booked myself from 9 a.m. until 7 o'clock at night. And I was just popping people in and out, right? And I got a phone call. This is probably, I think I was like finishing my second or third client of the day. And I got a phone call and it said Chase Bank. So I was like, oh, the bank is calling me. And so I answered the phone and the person on the other end was like, hi, this is so-and-so from Chase Fraud Protection Services. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And I did double check the back of my business debit card that it was really the bank, because I was like, I need to make sure. So I checked the back of my debit card, and the same number that called me was the same number on the back of the card. So I was like, oh, of course this is legit. And they were like, hey, you've been the victim of like a wire fraud transaction. And I was like, oh my gosh, please help me. Like that's crazy. And I was like, unfortunately, like I don't have time to take the call. So you guys are going to have to call me back and we're going to have to figure this out. When I tell you that these people were so on point with their script, it was actually insane. These people were so convincing. And it wasn't like an operator that you call from, and they have an accent or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. These people were American and they were good, okay? So I was like, yeah, oh my gosh, like I'll do whatever I can, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even think to check my bank account. Like I just didn't think of it. And at the time, like they instill so much fear into you that you're like, oh, of course I believe you. You're so-and-so from Chase Fraud Protection Services. Why wouldn't I, right? And this is before I knew that the bank will never call you like that. So if you have ever received a phone call and maybe like you dodged a bullet, I'm not sure, but the bank doesn't call you telling you that you've been scammed. If anything, they will email you because they're constantly monitoring your account, but they're not calling you. And so this was news to me. At the time, it was year 4 in business for me. And yeah, I was just trying to build, I was trying to grow. So I also was a little bit gullible and definitely trusted the wrong people at the time. So it was very messy, but he's like, yeah, no problem. I know you're booked today, so like we'll just call you back when you finish your next client. And when I tell you, I was on the phone with these people in between every single client for that day. Like they were on it. They were not playing, okay? And they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to do a wire reversal, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And so I did it. And I literally took their information, that whatever they told me to input, and I wired $12,000 out of my account. And when the first wire didn't work, they're like, oh, we're gonna have to have you do it again. And I did it again. And then I did it a third time, right? So it was like the craziest time for me that I was like, of course I believe them, it's the bank calling me, it has to be legit, it's the same phone number. I didn't even stop and think because I was just in a state of like worry and delusion. I had probably like no food in my body. If you're an esthetician, then you know. And yeah, I just was like, help me get my money back, right? So when I left for the day, it was, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 o'clock at night. I think like 6. And I get home and they even gave me a case number. They were like, yeah, this is your case number. It's like an open investigation, blah, 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 whatever. So they gave me that number. I went home and my stomach was in knots. I was like, something doesn't feel right. I literally feel sick. And I think I called my dad. And I get him on the phone and I was like, Dad, somebody tried to take $12,000 from me. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, the bank called me today and they said that I needed to do this wire reversal. They gave me a case number. And he's like, Erika, what do you mean? And I was like, Dad, like, this is legit. It was the same phone number on the back of my business debit card. It has to be real. He's like, Erika, the bank will never call you, sweetie. And I was like, don't tell me that. Like, freaking out. I'm walking back and forth, pacing. I'm tripping, okay? I'm like tripping. And I'm having a mental breakdown in my apartment on the phone with my dad. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, don't just tell me that I got scammed and I've literally lost everything. And like, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? Like, what am I going to do? Right? He's like, don't panic, call the bank tomorrow, blah, 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 whatever. Or the same day, I think I called. So I called the bank and I was like, hey, I have a case number. I just want to check in on the status of whatever, of the scam. And they're like, what are you talking about? And the bank had no idea what I was talking about. The bank was like, girl, what do you mean? Like, what happened? Like, who called you? What's happening? And I was like, no, like literally my worst nightmare. And I just remember like for 48 hours being sick to my stomach, waiting on Chase to tell me what were the next steps. And literally the bank was so unhelpful. And I'll give you guys a status update on, the money and like the police investigation and everything. But the bank was so unhelpful. It made me feel like, how can I protect these people? How can I, trust these people to protect my money? I can't. So after that, I had to call the police. I had to file a police report. It was an open investigation. And my bank account was down bad. It was really down bad. The good thing about this time in my life, and probably what saved my business is that I was profitable. Like, I was making money, and I was just a powerhouse of an SD. Like, I still am, but I don't take nearly as much clients because physically I can't, and mentally I don't think that's good for clients or myself. But at the time, having 7 to 8 people in one day back to back, and being able to have the capacity to treat all of them like gold and act like nothing is wrong and nothing's going on, it truly is a gift. Like, if you are in this industry and you give your energy, if you're in any industry where you're having to serve people and build relationships, having that poker face and just putting your best foot forward, it truly is a gift. And that's literally what saved me at the time. And so I literally, the only thing that I could do was just get up and go to work. And thank God at the time I was fully booked for like 2 months, like 2 months out. So it was such a blessing. And I remember after that, I was like hopeful that the bank could help me get my money back, that they were going to catch these people because it was an open investigation. Like, they're going to do everything that they can. I was like, yeah, like, I'm the exception. They're going to help me. Like, and I know people don't typically get their money back after a wire transaction or a wire scam. But I was like, I'm going to be the exception. Like, I'm going to get my money back. And to this day, I have not seen that 12K. I never got my money back. The investigation was closed. It opened March 2022, and the investigation was closed, I think, by May or June. And really, that's not that long of a period to look into something. But typically with these scammers, they'll just like open an account and close it right after they get the money, and like then they're out and on to the next bank. So they know what they're doing. But I just remember I just kept going, and I was like, okay, well, there's really nothing I can do. I just have to figure it out. I have to pivot. So I ended up shortly after that applying for a small business loan, and it's really not hard. And seeing a lot of money in your bank account one day and then losing it, like, that's the worst feeling. So there's no better thing to do. Like, you got to stay afloat. So what are you going to do? You're going to use the government's money, and that's what you're going to do. So I did take out a loan for the same amount that I lost, and that's what helped me stay afloat. All I had to do was have a 575 credit score, which I had, and I got approved. And the money was in my account the next day. And that's how I kept my working capital. That's how I kept putting products on my shelf. That's how I kept, servicing my clients and giving them, the best quality, the best care. That's literally how I stayed in business. That's how I was able to pay my rent. That's how I was able to pay myself, which I wasn't really doing at the time when that happened, because I'm like, if I can pay my rent and if I can eat, I'll go to my parents' house to eat. Like, I'll do whatever. But I was not going to be just out here wasting any money. So that's the day that it happened, the days following. And the comeback it took a long time. I feel like I'm still kind of bouncing back because 4 years of building your bank account, building that business, and then losing it in the blink of an eye is really traumatizing. But once I gave it to God, prayed on it, and I was like, there's really nothing I can do. And if I, give up, crash and burn, and I lose faith, then nothing good is going to come of this. So I kept going. What helped me a lot was kind of talking about it with my clients at the time. And they definitely helped carry me through mentally, emotionally. They were like, girl, it's fine. You're going to be fine. Like, and it's easy for people to say that, but when it happens to you, it definitely feels like the end of the world. But now taking out loans in business are not scary for me because you pretty much say, hey, I need this amount of money. And they're like, okay, we're going to give it to you. And you just do a payment plan with them. And they'll take out a lump sum daily or weekly, whatever it is. And that's how you pay your loan back. That's how you pay it on time. There is a little bit of interest, but if you can just throw money at that loan, then you're good, right? So definitely take out the amount that you know you can afford to take out. But that's kind of what I did and how I was able to operate and stay in business. And now here we are 7 years later. So if anything like that has happened to you, or you have made poor business decisions, or paid the wrong people, or met the wrong people, I mean, you can always start new. You can always rebuild. I don't think there's any reason to give up. I think circumstance makes a big difference. And for myself, I literally had no other option. I'm like, I live by myself. I have to pay my rent. You know, I had bills for people that have kids and have to put food on the table. You know, when you have things that challenge you and, you know, push you to be better, then I think that's really the only drive that you need. So that's how I lost 12K in a day. Okay, so a few suggestions for anybody that has a lump sum of cash sitting in the bank and you are in business, you're operating, you have that business checking, that business savings, which if you don't, then you need to have a business savings. Changes that I've made since the scam have been, I have multiple business accounts. So I have Chase still, and I have Amex. I have a business checking with Amex and a business savings. And then I also have an Amex business credit card. I have my Chase business checking and my Chase business credit cards. You need to have a high yield savings. I would say if you have a lump sum of cash that you can put into your high yield savings, then do it, because then your money is working for you. And any transactions that you're making for the business need to be on your business credit cards, not on your business debit. There's no reason at all that you should be so booked and busy and delulu that you're taking phone calls and letting people scam you. Take it from me that I'm grateful that I've continued to have the same type of clientele that's been consistent with me and carried my business through all of these years. But at the time, I literally could have just like crashed and burned. So ask people, talk to people, know who's holding on to your money, who's protecting you. Make sure that you have good people around you that can give you solid advice, your accountant. Make sure that you have a rep at whatever branch that you're banking with. Business clients, most of the time, are kind of like VIP clients. So just make sure that you're well taken care of and that you've asked all of the right questions when it comes to the money, the cash flow. So just some suggestions. If you have been through something similar, or you've gone through something of the sorts where, you know, you made bad business deals or bad business decisions or lost a lot of cash, leave it in the comments below. Definitely let me know. Please share the pod, like the pod, leave a review. I love you guys. I'll see